I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Uh-oh. I can't wait to hear that music again live. Guys, welcome back to Station 19, After Show on AfterBuzz TV. I'm one of your hosts, Linda Antwi, and I'm with Tsahai.
Hello, happy Friday, Linda and everyone out there in Zoom world. How are you guys?
You know what? Hanging in there for sure. It's so beautiful out today. I love it.
Yeah.
What were your overall thoughts of this episode?
I liked it, to see Andy struggle to come to terms with her father's death, but at the same time get to say these goodbyes to Ryan, to Rigo, to her mom. That was really heartwarming. Ooh, Ben called Sullivan out, and Emmett had this whole, reveal and awakening. I'm so happy for him, so I can't wait to talk more about it.
Yeah, there were a lot of ups and downs in this episode and a lot of emotions. I was like, I always say this to you guys. I say I'm not emotionally ready, and they hit you and then they hit you again. You're like, oh, but it was also great. I think it was also great. Let's start with Andy and Pruitt because it opens up with Andy and having a dream. And we know that her dad has passed now. And I didn't want to believe it this week, but it happened. And we see that she's with Sullivan and Ben, and he's really just trying to be there for her. And I thought that was like a beautiful moment because we realized in that moment that not only had they really got married, that he was making her his first priority. Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, it's interesting to still see them because we're still getting used to them as a regular couple. Now we also have to get used to them as a husband and wife. So one of the things that I noticed is that when he hugged her, his hands are ginormous. Like he has this huge, beautiful hand hugging her. And I thought it was like so sweet to see him be so comforting towards her.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then we see Vic, and Vic is kind of like in a panic mode, right? Because the department is refusing Pruitt's line of duty funeral. And so we see Vic, Emma, and Travis kind of talking about that and her trying to get a calendar together, and sharing a story about the first time uh, she met with Chief Dixon and they went on a call and it was the poop call. I thought that whole moment was like really sweet and special. And I thought it was hilarious when she was like, "So, Travis, like, what month are you picking? You have the body, so like, you might as well make money from it." And then realizing how crazy that sounded, I was like, "That's a good moment."
Totally. It was super cute. I mean, people are out here showing their bodies online. So I could see why she thought it was an option. And plus, it was for a good cause.
Right. And those firefighter calendars, I don't know so much today, but I know they were a big thing for a while there. Like people wanted, your firefighter and you wanted your month to be like the hot guy, the hot month. So I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I hope they bring it back to say raise money for COVID-19. I would love something like that around the holidays would cheer me and everyone else up, I'm sure.
Right, right. And then we see the breakfast fairy, Marcia, bring donuts and talk about how Pruitt saved, quote unquote, her life, but really it was her cat stuck in a tree. But that cat to her at that time was her life. And I didn't know how important she was going to be in this episode until later. But what I thought was interesting was um, Dean was able to just like go with the flow. He like took a donut for him and for Vic. So at first I saw him take two donuts. I was like, oh, go ahead, Dean. But one of them was actually for Vic later. And then we saw Jack kind of have a moment where he was silent and you could see he was reflecting on his feelings. And I was like, oh, I think that this is important as well. Did you feel that?
Yeah, I didn't realize the other donut was for Vic, but now that I remember, he did give her like throw
Yeah.
one at her. I
Yeah.
know he picked a jelly and a glazed, which
Yeah.
I made a mental note of because I hate jelly, but I love glazed.
Yeah.
So, and to see Marsha come back, it was so sweet because it shows how Jack stopping by her house a few weeks ago really created a bond that they're continuing to now. And he just like he helped her out, she helped him out this week.
Yeah, I loved it. And then we see Dean drawing up his will, and he is, all I have is t-shirts and my houseboat, and the houseboat's obviously going to go to Prue, but who's going to have Prue if something happens to me? So he starts asking around, and of course the first person is Vic, and Vic's like, yeah, I've worked too hard in my life, too many condoms to be a single mama right now. So no, thank you. And then Travis comes out in that outfit of his, and he's like, look at me, you basically don't want me to be in charge either. And I just thought that that whole thing was really sweet, and it made me laugh a lot.
Yeah, I loved Vic's response because it spoke to the lifestyle of a woman who has made a decision that children are not part of her plan right now. She may change her mind, but right now it is not a priority for her, and nobody should be made to feel bad for that. And it just showed that she's single. She has been protecting herself when she is sexually active, but children are not part of her plan, and that's okay. And I'm sure for him it kind of was like, ouch, because she is his first pick, but it made him actually find, I think, a better fit later on.
Oh, for sure. He found the best fit. Best fit.
Yeah.
And then we go into the first emergency, which is a gas leak. Third gas leak of the week. And when Jack and Dean get there, Jack knocks on the door. We see there's like a small kid hiding kind of behind a pillar. And we find out like the dad is a little bit of a douche, and the kid is signing, and we remember from earlier episodes that Jack knows sign language because of his sister, and he realizes there's more going on here, so he really tries to take control of the situation and realize that, you know what, it's not about the gas leak, it's about there's some abuse going on in this house. Let me find out what exactly is going on. We find out that the dad is the new quote unquote stepdad, and doesn't know sign language, hasn't given it any thought, too busy to learn, whatever the case may be. And then Jack has the wherewithal to separate them, right? So we see that Dean is working on clearing the house. Jack has the dad on one side and the kid and the mom on one side, and is really trying to get to the bottom of this. And when the kid signed to him that the gas allows time for the dad to calm down, the dad doesn't put hands on him, but he sees it escalating on his mom. I was like, wow, kids are just so not only observant, but like loving and protective, and just, like they save the day a lot of the times when you don't even realize it.
Yeah, it's like the mom couldn't figure out a way to save herself, and here it is, her young child had to do it for both of them. And I'm glad that she was able to take his lead. And the story could have gone a different way where she was like, no, I want to say he's not that bad of a guy. But I'm really glad at the way it played out. I'm really, I'm so proud of Jack for taking the initiative to separate them and keep the husband away. And also, I think it's because he now feels like he's growing, and he owes it to himself to do good now that Pruitt has passed, and he wants to carry on his legacy. But also, I think he's slowly forgiving himself for what happened with Rigo.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that he wants to step up into his own, and he wants to make sure that whatever his legacy as a firefighter is, he's brought up his game. And I think Pruitt, literally dying to save them, he wants to make sure that it was for a reason. It was for something that is more important than just him.
Right.
So we'll talk about the family getting to Marcia later. Let's talk about Emmett and Ben. So we see Emmett and Ben, and they're kind of getting the station ready for memorial, kind of look like. And they talk about Emmett talks about how his first day someone OD'd, and then Rico died, and then Pruitt died, and it was just been a lot as a newbie and a probie to digest. And Ben caught on right away. He's like, "Who OD'd? Who OD'd?" And he's like, "No, who OD'd?" And he didn't like stop pressing him because Ben knew.
Ben was on him like white on rice. Like, yes. Other things happened, and then he was like, so back to what we were discussing.
Right.
And it's so funny because the probie just like said it. Emma just said it so like frivolously, like, yeah, somebody OD'd, this guy died. Like, and I forgot that he saw all of that, because you know why I forgot? Because they've kind of brushed past the Sullivan thing. They brushed past his addiction and his leg issue and covered it up with this wedding and now Pruitt's death and him taking care of Andy. But I forgot to mention last week that remember when he said something about having some kind of battery pack or some kind of pack for his leg now? Like he's on some type of treatment that they kind of brushed over quickly. So that we're going back to it and he's now being held accountable for what happened.
Yeah, because we did see him meet with Amelia.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I guess we can infer that Amelia has him on a program. But what I do think is interesting, like you're saying, is that he was a full-on druggie. He was an addict, stealing, and now is he not?
I guess
Like,
not, because like apparently this packet that he has in his leg is helping him. Also, when Ben said, "Did you see the needle?" Needles are a real drug addict. It's not like smoking a spliff. It's not like popping a pill. Like a needle is like a serious thing.
that's why I
So
just don't get. I mean, they're gonna definitely have to elaborate some more on how we got from there to here,
yeah,
because they were making it seem like he OD'd, right? So, and he had the Narcan situation happen. So they're gonna they have a little bit of explaining to do,
totally.
definitely. We see Dixon come in, and Dixon, he really plays the bad guy really well, right? I think he just really plays it well because I just can't stand his character.
Yeah,
Um,
it's horrible.
yeah, so he says that Pruitt was not authorized to be on duty, and is there to kind of drill Maya. But in the meantime, he's like, I have some great news. I invite all of Station 19 to Emmett and Alicia's engagement party at our private country club. And everyone's like, wait, what? Right? And including Emmett. And Emmett then approaches Travis in the shower. And I liked how casual that scene was. And Travis just walks out naked, grabs his towel, no issue. And Travis is like, you know what? If you really, because he says that he loves them. And he's like, if you really love me and if you really loved Alicia, you would not have gotten engaged to her. And he refers to, you're basically like the poop that's stuck in the window.
I know. I think, it's funny. Do you notice how Emmett and Travis's conversations, whether good or bad, happen in the shower? And that's a real coupley thing. You know what I'm saying? When you're in a relationship with someone, when they're in the shower, you're still talking to them or you're in the shower together. So it's kind of like establishing the shower as their safe space.
Hmm.
And it did definitely give Emmett some food for thought. But when Daddy revealed that they were gonna be invited to the country club for this engagement, child, and what did I tell you? Miss Alicia proposed to him with
Yeah.
her thirsty self. I'm like, girl, see, you don't learn. But she gonna learn today.
Facts. And then we have Maya. So we have Maya defending herself, and Chief Dixon saying, you basically admitted you let a civilian go into a critical scene. It's your fault. And then she like really stands up for herself. And I'm like this too. Like when I get really mad sometimes, I can get like teary-eyed because you're
Mm-hmm.
frustrated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, don't make me regret having backed a woman. I was like, can I just punch this dude in the face right now? Crying, and then he's like this crying, like, pull yourself together. And she was like, first of all, I can have empathy for the situation and cry and that not make me a weak person. And it actually makes me a better leader. Like I loved everything that she said to him in that moment. And how dare you try to diminish me because I'm a woman and I am a leader at this fire hall. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna do that to me. And I thought that showed strength in her, and it showed how there's oftentimes still a lot of bias in the workplace being a female, and especially being a female in charge.
He tried to play her in front of the other coworker. It was supposed to be a formal like meeting to discuss what happened, and here it is. He was it was him making it more personal. She was stating the information, but she was stating her case, and he was the one making it personal and trying to throw her off her game. But Maya brought up her Olympic wins. She was like, "Listen, okay, this is who you're playing with, so don't try to play me. I am a competitor, and you're not gonna beat me."
And yeah, and her Olympic wins and like the NFL, how when they win like Super Bowls and all of that, and they cry, doesn't make them any less weak, doesn't make them not manly. All like, don't bring your BS to me like that, right? Because
Yep.
she bringing the facts, that I thought was great. And then when he tried to threaten her and say, "Well, crying won't stop you from getting transferred and pushing paper," I was like, "Oh, so you're this dude. You're trying to have a fall guy, and the fall guy not be you." But what I loved about it was when there was a second emergency, which we'll get to.
Hmm.
Um, but when she comes back, they've kind of like taken a break, and it's just her and Dixon. She closes the door and says, "You remember when Sullivan went in by himself against protocol? You didn't do anything in that situation because he was your top pick. So instead of wasting time about this, because you know that Pruitt is a legend, 30-year firefighter, you need to just drop this." I was like, go ahead, Maya.
I missed. Can you repeat the last thing you said?
I said, go ahead, Maya.
Oh, okay, okay. Yes, Maya definitely stood up for herself, and it's funny because so much was happening at that scene that we forgot that, you know, actually Pruitt went up, but Sullivan also went in to save his wife. So yeah, there was a lot going on, and there were a lot of fingers that could be pointed at the end of the day. But Dixon, he needs to take some of the blame. And sometimes I'm thinking, is he trying to push Maya out to like create a space for his son? Like, is
Oh,
away all through the levels and be like, haha, you're the chief now. You know what I'm saying? It's, you never know what he's up to.
yeah, I think that he's always playing the political side of things. So I
Yeah,
think he's really trying to continue to make sure not only he is at the top, but that he pulls his family to the top as well.
definitely.
We get to the second emergency. We see a couple that's like half naked, handcuffed. Well, they were, yeah, half naked, handcuffed to each other. And they're a mess, and they're young, and they don't have the keys to the handcuffs. And we're like, and Ben was so funny. They're like, "Can you help us?" And Ben comes down. He's like, "Yeah, I think we can. We're probably gonna have to like amputate one of your hands to get you out of there." And they believed him, which I thought was hilarious. And the guy's like, "Can you do that?" And Ben's like, "Yeah, that's part of the fun." Then we see that the girl seizes, her jaw is locked, and they don't exactly know what's going on. And so they're trying to incorporate like the PRT uh, stand thing and get her on that and get her to the hospital. But they also don't want to be questioned because they don't want the PRT to be shut down, because Ben in the back of his mind knows that Sullivan has done something wrong. So he wants to make sure he does everything by the book.
Right.
Um, then we find out that the girl has epilepsy and she's not wearing the bracelet, her medical aid ID,
Hmm.
because she's embarrassed in this relationship. And then we find out the boyfriend has like athlete's foot or whatever. So it just showed to me how either that was a new relationship or that they were very young and they thought like they're so in love and they have to show like the best of each other all the time instead of like being who their true selves are. And yes, they love each other, but guess what? It's okay to be your true self if you're really going to go the distance.
Yeah, I think, you know, this whole storyline through was to me a bit of a like thrown in. I was like, what is the purpose of this? I understand how it kind of connected at the end, but it just threw me off. We're used to focusing most of the time on one incident, right? But then here it is, we had two. And so I felt like this one was like thrown in. And maybe I'm just a little bit older because I'm like, what is going on here? Why don't you know your girl has epilepsy? Like keeping secrets about your, it was just, to me, it just threw me off. I was like, this is just foolish, this whole thing. And you're using the handcuffs, but you don't have the key. Like, smarten up, kids. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but isn't that also too young love? Like Ben said in the back of the PRT van, he's like, oh, I remember being that age, and they have a son right now that they've adopted now that is that age where they're experimenting more. And he's like, that was never how it was when he was that age. And I thought, yeah, like they're being young and dumb. They don't know any better. Tsahai.
When he said, he was like, do you know her name? Because I was like, how did they hook up at a bar and just meet and were like, this was a one night stand? He didn't quickly establish, this is my girlfriend, we've been dating for this amount of time. So that's why I was like, what is this relationship? And why is he so surprised by everything? It just felt a little thrown in for me.
Okay. But what I thought was interesting. So we know that they get the girl to the hospital, and on the way back, Ben and Emmett basically have a heart-to-heart without Emmett really knowing that they're having a heart-to-heart. And so when Ben literally named Sullivan, and all Emmett could do is like shake his head yes, shake his head yes. I was like, oh, see, there you go, right there. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen because Ben is, he's a rules guy. He's going to follow the rules, and he's like, now I have to report my captain.
Yeah, but the beautiful thing about this episode is that this is my first time feeling like Emmett is part of the team. The fact I love, Ben has been such a stable, solid character in the series. So to see Emmett, a new guy.
You're gonna have to repeat that part.
Okay, so I was saying that Ben, can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my connection's a little choppy, but seeing Ben and Emmett interact was really sweet because finally it felt like Emmett was part of the team for the first time, and now Emmett kind of like seeing that and him feeling that way allowed him to open up too. So I liked seeing the two of them interact because it's like the OG school and the new kid. And Emmett didn't know what was coming because when, like you said, Ben said, "Oh, it's Sullivan," he was like, "Don't like."
Yeah. So true. It's so true. He didn't know what was coming. He did not know. But also what was important too in that second emergency with the young girl was that he had his epiphany. He's like, oh, she's embarrassed, like how he's embarrassed about who he is.
Right.
And she didn't want the person that she loves to know that she has epilepsy. And he didn't want her to know that he had athlete's foot, which is like me. I don't want everyone to know that he's like, I'm gay. That's why he's marrying Alicia. So he had his whole epiphany in the end of that, in the back of the PRT. And that led to a beautiful moment, right? And we'll get to that moment as well. But I wanted to talk about Andis dreams. So Andis dreams were so vivid. So she started dreaming about her dad, and you saw a lot of the fire ambers throughout. And like you said, we saw Rico in the flashback. We saw Ryan in the flashback. We even saw Jack in the flashback. And when she was confused by that, and he was like, "Oh no, I'm here because you realize now we're both orphans." And then we also find out that Sullivan is an orphan, and it was all, and then so she wakes up crying, and she's coming to terms with losing her mom, her dad, her first love, and it's really just her and then her new husband. And then she finds out that her husband is, she finds out, so she's married to someone that she didn't know was also an orphan. And she talks about how he lost his parents, and then he got married, then he lost his wife, and then he lost his best friend, Ripley. And I was like, there has been a lot of loss in these 3 seasons, Tsahai.
Look, I wrote it down. I was like, okay, we got Ripley, we got Ryan, we got Rigo, we got Pruitt, Andy's mom, Sullivan's wife, and Travis's husband. Like those are the ones that I could remember. Like all these like that some we've seen play out and some we have just been referenced, but there's like a lot of deaths surrounding Station 19.
Right. And how do we as the viewers, we get so attached to them and they get ripped from the screen? You know what I mean?
Yes.
These flashbacks even hurt because I was like, oh, there's Ryan.
I
Oh, there's
know.
Pruitt. And even weeks back when we saw Ripley in the flashback, I was like, oh, there's,
Yeah,
it's
to see Rigo too. I was like, oh, welcome back, Rigo.
it's an emotional roller coaster for sure.
One last thing about Rigo. Remember how she tried to play it off with the therapist that she wasn't close to him, and then we saw that flashback to the whole
Mhm.
possum incident. Isn't it funny that he showed up in her dreams? Like he was one of the people that showed up in her dreams too.
Yeah, because she cared about him and there was another person that she lost, right? So
Hmm.
she was working through all the loss that she's had in a shorter period of time. So
Right.
yeah. So then she talks to Sullivan about how her dad knew how to deal with her when she felt sad, and he would open all the blinds and let the light in. And in Spanish, and I don't know the term, but bright house, bright hearts.
Hmm.
And I thought that Sullivan was going to do something similar in that moment. Like I thought he was going to get up and like open the blinds and all that stuff, but he didn't. But I'm wondering if that was showing Sullivan how to care for her during her times of sadness.
Yeah, think about it. Like your parents have established a certain pattern and how they care for you. When you're sick, your mom may make you some kind of soup or something, right? But your
Mhm.
spouse, especially a new spouse who you don't even know was an orphan, so you're still learning about each other, is still learning how to care for you. And that probably makes the loss of a parent even harder. You're like, oh my gosh, this person that knows me so well is no longer in my life. Fortunately, Andy does have someone else to kind of be her new support system because
Mhm.
all of this loss back to back, dealing with it on her own would have been hard for anyone, especially her.
Absolutely. And then we move back to that first emergency, and Jack has really put a plan together. And what I like seeing about that was not only had he put a plan together, but the whole team was on board, no questions asked, except for Vic was like, "Did you start this fire?" Right when they were putting the fire in the house out, and he's like, "No." And he didn't even know that the wife was gonna do it, and we found that out after, that she didn't even know she was gonna do it. It was, like, spur of the moment. Um, but it all kind of came together because now there's an actual fire. We see the dad freak out, grab the kid, and be really aggressive, and it was the first time that the mom was like, don't touch my son. Like,
Yeah.
don't do that, and be assertive back to him. And I knew that was the moment that she was gonna hold true to leaving, like to getting out of there and making sure that it was about her and her son and their safety and their happiness first, like Jack said, right?
Yeah.
But then when he said that he had a friend that they could stay with, I had no idea who he was talking about.
Me neither. First of all, I thought Jack started the fire. I didn't even see him run in the house, but I was like, some way he must have done it. I didn't expect it to be her. So that was an interesting plot twist. But yeah, I didn't know who he was. I was like, where's he going to take them to a shelter? Like, I didn't know either. So that was an interesting spin.
Yeah, and so when they showed up, at Marsha's house, I was like, "Aw." Plus, we know from previous episodes that she's been lonely, and when they knocked on the door and she opened the door, and, she's like, "There's pizza," and she said that there was, like, Hawaiian pizza, and then she joked about, who puts pineapples on pizza. First of all, you guys, FYI, I love Hawaiian pizza. I love it. I love pineapples on pizza. You can fight me in the comments, but I love it. And so she makes that joke. And then when you walk into her living room, she has all the board games. She's completely prepared for having a young kid and this woman who's been traumatized. And I just thought it was a really beautiful moment for all of them because she's now going to have company, which she needs, and they're going to be in a safe environment.
That's the part that was the sweetest to me. Like this woman who lives with her cats, is on a regular day-to-day basis, now only has Jack, but prior to Jack had no one. Now has like, a mother and a son that she can have some in the home with her. And with elderly people, sometimes we forget them. So that's why I thought it was so beautiful to portray this connecting of all these different storylines together in this one space.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was really beautiful. Then we see um the actual Vic, Maya, and Travis, and it's Maya's turn to do the photo shoot. All awkward with her hands.
Yeah.
She's like, what's going on with your hands? She's like, I don't know. She's like, I don't know how to pose, and I don't want my boob to pop out. And I thought that whole thing was hilarious. You got this unicorn in the background, and then you've got this, I can't remember the name of the show, but that surf show. There was like an 80s surf show, and Pamela Anderson was in it. Do you remember that?
Baywatch.
Yeah. So they had the Baywatch board there. And I was like, oh, she's a hot mess. But then when Travis was trying to show her the poses and he was like, this, I was like, oh, you guys are all a hot mess.
Wait, Travis was so nervous with himself, and then suddenly he's like a background photographer, like a backseat photographer, telling her what to do. Like, why can't you get it? Like, don't you understand? This is how a model works. Like, he was suddenly an expert, which I thought was funny. And I thought it was super cute that Vic could also rely on her old friends from the theater.
Her old friends from the theater, right?
Yeah, like the fact that she still keeps in touch with them and was able to rely on them for the props. I thought that was a sweet way to connect her past to her present.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then she had a moment where she kind of melted down a little and talked about how sad and mad she was over the loss. And they all just sat there kind of reflecting on Captain Pruitt. And then we move on to the kitchen area. They're all there, and Emmett has his beautiful moment. So Emmett has his moment, his coming out moment, and he kind of blurts it out of nowhere. He's like, I'm gay. And they're all looking at him like, what? And then Maya welcomes him into the club because she's bisexual. And then we see Travis come in after and is like happy that he's like come into himself, and they've all like are happy. And then we see Vic have a moment because she really wants to get this calendar done. And in the midst of them celebrating, she like slams her hand down and she's like, pick a month. Pruitt died for us. We need to get this done. And it kind of whipped them all into shape. And then I thought of you in this moment because when Dean took his shirt off, I was like, oh, Tsahai's happy right now.
I mean, you know, again, I respect him as an actor, as you know, I respect his character. It's not all about the physical, you know, Linda.
Tsahai, stop playing.
It's about what's up here, okay?
Stop playing, Tsahai. You had a moment in that moment because I was even like, whoa, those are a lot of muscles going on there.
You know, it's very emotions that were happening at that time. So I really didn't see him shirtless.
Lies.
I may have caught a glimpse, you know.
Lies. So I thought that was great. And that they all picked a month, and I loved how Ben was going to be sexy Santa in December. So that was really wonderful. And then we flash forward to Sullivan and Andy in bed, and Sullivan gets a text, and it's from Ben, and all it says is, we need to talk. And you can see in Sullivan's face that he knows exactly what Ben needs to talk about. And what does he do, Tsahai? He just like turns the phone off. Like he's going to ignore it because he's moved past it.
Shady.
But I don't know what the repercussions are because you also know and remember that Ben changed the numbers on the sheet, on the PRT thing when he was doing the inventory for the fentanyl. So I don't know what repercussions that's going to have on him as well. Because if he outs Sullivan, right?
Yeah.
Then he's also outing himself because he knew in the moment that there were missing things and he changed it.
That's a good point. He's partially an accomplice to this. And now if he tattletales, what are the repercussions of this? And Sullivan's new marriage, you know, and his wife who is still suffering the loss of her father. So yeah, you're right.
It's a mess. It's a mess. But it's a beautiful Station 19 mess. Let's get into some news and gossip.
Yes. So this week, Lachlan Buchanan, who plays Emmett, did a takeover on the Station 19 Instagram account. And we got to know a little bit more about him. So Lachlan, if you didn't know, is from Australia, and he has an upcoming birthday on April 25th.
Happy birthday.
Yes. So prior to joining Station 19, you may have seen him on Teen Wolf, Criminal Minds, and Fuller House. So what did we find out about Lachlan in this takeover? So the fans were able to ask some questions, and I'll kind of run through them quickly. They said, who's the funniest on set? Lachlan says Jay Hayden, who plays Travis, is the funniest, no question. His favorite episode so far, he said that it was tonight's episode, the last one where he comes out. His favorite hobby is either surfing or gardening. His favorite Grey's Anatomy character is Jake Borelli, who plays Schmidt. They're actually really good friends. Who is his work bestie? And he said Danielle Savra, who plays Maya, is actually, he said that's a tough one because they're all freaking amazing, but she's the one that he gets in the most trouble for. And one of the funniest things that I found out was that they asked, what's the craziest thing that ever happened on set? He said when they got evacuated from a location because there was an actual wildfire that was coming towards them. So,
Wow.
yeah. And last but not least, there was a question, do you ship Emmett and Travis? And all he said was hashtag Tremit. I didn't even know this was a thing. So obviously, yes. He said, finishing up, who's the coolest firefighter from the show? Gray Damon, who plays Jack, he said, because he could probably punch through a brick wall with his bare hands, and he is the best dressed man I know. Also, remember when the husband said, oh, you know, the firefighter that looks like every high school football star or something?
Yeah.
I was like, he is a pretty handsome guy. So yeah, that was a great takeover. You guys can check out a few more of the slides. They might be up, but always check the Station 19 Instagram account for updates.
I love that. Normally we do a section called Fire Facts, but I thought in this quarantine life, I was going to throw a question out to our viewers, and I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. I want to know what you guys are doing to stay active and busy during your self-quarantine time. Because for me, I'm finding that I'm getting a little bit stir crazy and I'm definitely not being active enough. And I should probably do like some type of at home aerobics or, you know, pick up some milk jugs and like do something. So what are you guys doing? Give us your favorite and best activities to keep you guys busy down in the comments and we'll talk about it. Let's move on to some predictions. Tsahai. I have a lot of feelings about this. So I'm wondering what is going to happen next. So predictions for me, I think that there's going to be a big fallout for Emmett's coming out. I think his dad.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Sorry about my connection. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I was shouting out all the people that have been spending their time with us and commenting on last week's episode. Blue Shadow.
Before we do that, we're going to do some predictions real quick.
Okay. Predictions, you know, Ben is going to tell on Sullivan, and that's going to definitely cause a problem.
Awesome. I was saying that I think there's going to be a lot of backlash for Emmett. I think as soon as Dixon, his dad, finds out that he's gay, he's not going to accept it. And when he finds out he's with Travis, I think Travis's life is going to be turned upside down. I also think too, looking at how they assign Ben as the legal guardian to Pruitt if indeed something happens to Dean. I don't know. I think that there's going to be a close call somehow, some way. Something's going to happen with Dean, and that's going to be put into the forefront of our minds.
Awesome.
Yes. So let's do our shout outs for sure.
Blue Shadow, Joshua on the right, and Gemini 3. Thank you so much. Dreamcast, Tia Diaz, and Fandom Domination, and Crystal Sims. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys. We love hearing from you. Guys, if you're in the live chat right now, make sure you scroll up, like, subscribe. thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. And then definitely throughout the week, hit us up in the comments, share with your friends. We love being with you guys every week, talking all things Shondaland, talking all things Station 19. If you want to hit me up on social media, you can find me all across social media at Linda Is So Girly. And Tsahai, where can they find you?
You can find me at Say Hi Tsahai.
Awesome. Same time next week, same show. We look forward to seeing you then. Bye for now, guys.
Bye, guys.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.